Today, we're going to talk about how I went from zero to selling over $200 million worth of real estate. This is the Will Frederick podcast, where we talk about real estate, wealth building, money, and life. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest, Courtney McElhannon. Courtney is the Director of Operations for my real estate sales team, the Will Frederick team. We are based here in Hammond on the North Shore. And Courtney has been with me 6 years and has really helped me build my business. And so we're going to be talking a little bit about that journey today. First, we would like to take a second to thank our title sponsor, First Access Mortgage. They're Louisiana's first choice mortgage company and have been for the last 21 years. We're very excited to be partnered with them. If you need help buying your first home or a vacation home or an investment property, they are truly your home loan resource. So go check them out, First Access Mortgage. We thank them very much for their part in today's show. And so I'm going to turn it over to Courtney, and we're just going to have a little chit-chat here.
I'm very excited to be here. Thanks for having me on. And I have some questions for you.
Okay.
So we'll go ahead and get started.
Sounds good.
So when you say 200 million, what exactly are you talking about? Is that number for real? 200 million?
Yeah, so it's not like 200 million in my pocket. That is the cumulative.
Oh, okay.
Right. That is the cumulative amount of real estate I've sold over the last 15 years as a full-time agent. That represents over 1,200 real estate transactions. So 15 years.
So 15 years.
Yeah.
Is that when you first got your taste of real estate or?
No. So I've been a full-time agent for 15 years, but I started about 5 years before that actually investing in real estate. That's where my passion came from for becoming a real estate agent, actually.
Okay. So did you always want to be a real estate agent? Was real estate always the goal? Was it always real estate or bust? What was that goal for you?
So since the time I was about 12 years old, I just knew I was going to work for myself. I'm very self-directed. Don't like, you're not the boss of me type of thing.
I can see that.
Yeah, you know that pretty well, don't you? So I wanted to be self-employed. I never really knew what exactly or didn't know in the beginning. So early on, I read a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then a friend's dad helped me get started. He told me, I read the book and I was talking to him about it. He said, you may want to talk to my dad. And that's when I met Biff Genda, who I would consider him my rich dad. He was one of the ones that helped me kind of get started in real estate, kind of showed me a few things, showed me the ropes.
So what was your start in real estate? So what was the first thing you did?
Around that time, I went and bought a house in Winchester, Virginia. I was living there at the time, and I didn't have a life. It was a very small town. I was a young single guy. So every day I'd come home and throw on my paint clothes and work till I couldn't keep my eyes open. And I didn't intentionally go out to flip it, but that's what I did. About a year later, I'd fixed it up, a little house on Buff Lick Road in Winchester, Virginia, and I flipped it, and believe it or not, I was in the 23-year-old, 24-year-old range, and I sold the house, and I made $27,000. My first, and you can imagine as a 23-year-old having that much money.
Yeah, that's what I would think is, you feel like you just won the lottery. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. I got bit. That's when I got bit by the real estate bug.
Yeah,
I would say.
So you did this around in your early 20s. Mm-hmm. So how did you get started? Because I think for a lot of people, especially in early 20s, and then also even at my age, want to know what is the point of entry to start funding these projects or getting into investing or buying their first house. How did you fund it?
So very traditionally, I went to a lender. So we talked about First Access Mortgage. Talk to a lender first, find out what you can qualify for. I got what's called an 80-15-5 mortgage, so an 80% mortgage, and then a 15% second mortgage, and then the 5% actually came in the form of another loan from my grandmother, and I paid her back, and it was considered a gift. Yeah, thanks, Mom. So it was considered a gift. I paid it back. And so I got into this house. This was my first house with zero money down, and there are loans out there like that. Like I said, First Access, and any lender can help you with that. So we want to definitely. That's a great place to start. Yeah. Go get a loan.
Yeah. And I know, and I think that, I think you discussed this in one of your earlier episodes with Courtney Fricky, as some creative lending or creative funding that you can do. There's always more than one path to getting into investing or building wealth for yourself. So, okay. I think that that's just I think
Yeah.
everyone wants to know, you're a big time in investing in real estate, flipping, and all of these different aspects of real estate. But like, what was your entry point?
Yeah,
It's pretty cool.
It was just very basic. I mean, it was almost an accident. Like I said, I did not know I wanted to be in real estate until I left that first closing as a 24-year-old with a check for $27,000, and I said, okay, now this is what I need to do.
I love it. Okay, what'd you do with your money?
So I actually went and bought another house. So I found another house that I was actually not going to. I was going to move kind of back home. I'm from here. I was going to move back home, but I decided to stick around a little bit longer, and I bought another house there. I found a really good deal. And that is when, so I bought that house. It needed a little fixing up too. But that time I got a roommate because it was a little bit more livable house. That first one was, I lived there, but, not too many other people would have.
Maybe no one else wanted to.
Right. So this second house, I got a roommate and so began to get him to pay some of some of my mortgage by charging him rent. And now they call that house hacking. I didn't know what it was called at the time.
Yeah.
But, it just made sense to me to have somebody else helping out. With the income.
For sure. So what were you doing at this time? Because you said that you got a loan. Were you?
Yeah. So I worked full time for Rubbermaid Commercial Products. I was not in the real estate arena formally at that point. So I actually got fired from Rubbermaid not too long after that. That's when I sold that second home and moved home to Louisiana. And that's when I kind of said, hey, the corporate world, I kind of knew that was not my long-term thing, but it was a great place to be for a little while.
Yeah.
So I took that as an opportunity to move into something that I was a little bit more passionate about, learning my passion in real estate. So I actually got a mortgage originator license and got into mortgages, believe it or not.
Okay. Did you enjoy doing that?
It was okay. It's a little bit more detail oriented than I tend to be. I just did that for a couple of years. NOLA Lending actually is who I worked for, and they fired me too, by the way. Yeah. So this isn't about how Will got fired a bunch of times. It was only twice, but that was the second time. So.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you've been fired twice at this point. Like that's a big blow to your ego. Are you demoralized? I mean, it's nothing to be ashamed of. It happens to the best of us. But how did you take that, going forward? Because that's a big blow.
Yeah, it was a little rough. I had just gotten married. When I moved home, I met Rhonda. We got married, and we had just built a house, and so it was kind of a big deal. Like we had a really nice house, really nice mortgage, big mortgage payment, not
mortgage,
nice.
yeah.
Big. And so losing that job, that was kind of like, ooh, that's kind of rough. So now I was demoralized, but Rhonda always teases me. I'm like Jim Carrey in the movie Dumb and Dumber, where he says, so what are the chances of a guy like me and you? Is it like 1 in 100 or like 1 in 1,000? And the girl says, it's more like 1 in 1,000,000. And he says, so you're saying there's a chance?
Stop.
It was just part of my path,
Yeah,
so
for sure.
You have some setbacks.
Okay, so you're let go. Are you in real estate at that? Like, what are you doing at this time? Because obviously you have a wife. You're getting started in, your life here.
Well, so Rhonda worked for the Ponchatoula High School, Ponchatoula High School, the school.
Shout out Green Wave.
Yeah, go Green Wave. She was a English high school English teacher, freshman English honors, and so she kind of had a steady income. I all of a sudden didn't have an income, so I just decided to explore. I'd gathered a few rentals at the time, and so I was kind of managing rentals. I was doing a little odd jobs, just kind of doing a few little things to try and kind of delve into real estate a little bit more. Not a licensed agent at the time, and so that's kind of where we were, and we actually had to so at the time, let me think about where we were. So I was doing all these odd jobs and stuff, and then we got pregnant.
Okay, so how did you narrow down from all of the like jack of all trades? Like you're doing anything and everything, and we've all been there. We certainly have, where you got to make the ends meet. But then how did you focus down to real estate?
Well, there's nothing to focus you like pressure. So we got pregnant. Rhonda and I became pregnant for our first child, and so we had always kind of planned and knew that when it was time for us to start having babies, Rhonda was going to be a stay-at-home mom. And so we were excited about that. And also, like Rhonda said, all right, you got to go get a real job now. So I started looking around and seeing what I wanted to do with my life. And I got my real estate agent's license, but I was also going to do like multiple things. I was still going to do my odd jobs. I had a landscaping kind of part-time gig. I was actually going to teach at Southeastern. I was interviewing to be an adjunct professor. I got my CDL, my commercial driver's license. I was going to drive a bus for the insurance. So I was going to do all these things. And like I said, whatever it took to provide for my family.
Yeah.
And I was excited about it. However, after a few weeks selling real estate, I recognized, that had been a passion of mine for a while. I recognized that if I kind of focused there, if I focused my efforts on that, that was probably going to be the most productive use of my time. And it was a slow start, though. It wasn't, I was not an overnight success by any stretch of the imagination. As a full-time realtor, it's all commission-based, and it sometimes takes a couple of years to get started.
Yeah, for sure. So if you weren't an overnight success, when did you start to see some of the success that you have now or that our team has now? Was it when you hired me? Was that the moment?
That was it. It changed everything.
I'm just kidding. So. I joke. But what was the turning point from kind of that startup real estate to, what we kind of have going now?
Mm-hmm. So I'd say it was gradual, because I want to go back to, when I got my agent's license, it was meager in the beginning. Like, we lived on tuna fish. It was very, very scary. Some days Rhonda would say, hey, how much are we making this month? And I'd say, I don't know, because sometimes closings don't happen that
you do what you got to do, for sure.
Right. And we actually had to sell that house that we bought or that we built in Weinberger Trace. We sold it. We got out with the mortgage payment paid off, but we had money put into it that we didn't take with us. That was a big, big hit for us early on. And so at that point, we had to take a step back to take two steps forward, and we went, bought a much less fancy house, and we're fixing that up. And so as that happened, I began to grow my real estate experience, like helping lots of clients, trying to do the right thing, and it's hard when you're commission based because you just want to make that sale. But I think it's really important to be able to look your client in the eye and say, listen, we're not going to do this if it's not the best thing for you.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to build client relationships with people that did right by them, because I saw a lot of that not done in many businesses. It's not done. But I was committed to be a character person and say, I'm going to do the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, you have to decide what kind of person you want to be in business. How do you want to do business? And I think that's something I value about how we operate, is having integrity and leading with that, because that will always win the day no matter what.
Yeah, I agree. And just, I really love people. I enjoy being around people, getting into people's stories and helping them get to the next step in their journey, whether that's, buying a house or selling a house or maybe not buying or selling. Because I've had to talk people out of that before when it's not the right thing for them, or just more listening, not necessarily talking them out of it. So it took probably 4 or 5 years of consistent work to where it became a little bit more regular, steady income. Yeah. Believe it or not, I mean, it's a long time for a family to be in limbo, but
for sure,
we decided that it was worth sticking it out, and it has been.
Love it. So you said it took about 4 years. What happened like around that 4 to 5 year mark?
So, and actually, we were digging out of a financial hole. And so I was working like whenever I could. And real estate can be a very consuming business. It can be 24/7 if you let it.
We've definitely seen that.
Yeah. And so, and I got to the point where I was doing really well. I'd become the top producer at the agency I was at. And, but I didn't have a life. And so we had started having kids, like I mentioned before, and we had just had our 4th kid. And I think at one point I was like working 80 hours a week, and real estate just ruled my life. And I felt like I didn't get to spend a lot of time with my family. And I really loved real estate, which was a strange thing. It wasn't like I hated what I did. I loved real estate, but I loved my family more, And
there just had to have been a better way to do that.
Yeah. And I knew my priorities, and I knew they were a little out of whack out of necessity. Sometimes you got to counterbalance and go hard into one area and let another area, lax a little bit. But it was time to rebalance. I needed to, and I was actually going to get out. I was going to get out of real estate because I said, you know what? I love this business. It's a lot of fun. I need to just focus on getting more rentals and not selling real estate because I can't do this. I don't want this to be the next.
It's unsustainable.
Right. I don't want this to be the next 10 years of my life. I love my family too much. I want to know my kids,
Yeah.
And I want to know my wife. That's a big thing for me. So that's what I was doing. I had this plan. I was going to get out of real estate and in rentals over the next few years. So then a friend of mine told me about Keller Williams, which is the company I'm at right now. So
I love it. What appeals about Keller Williams? Because that sounds like, did it change things for you?
So the way Keller Williams approaches real estate, and I really appreciate this about the company I'm at right now. It's just, first of all, they say your priorities are God, family, business. That's our values, God, family, business. And those are my values. So there immediately was alignment there. The other thing they did was they teach you how to run your real estate business like a business. And a lot of times real estate is done very haphazardly, and it's more of a hobby, and we like looking at houses, and so we'll go look at. I am very entrepreneurial by nature. I have an undergraduate in business. I have my master's degree in business. I think like a business owner. I always have. Mm-hmm. And so there was something in real estate that I loved, but there was also something in real estate that kind of like it annoyed me a little bit because it wasn't predictable. It wasn't business-like enough. Yeah. And I'd begun to see that, and I never knew it could be done differently, which is why I was thinking about getting out. And so then I read, Gary Keller wrote a book called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and it's a very methodical, systematic book about how to build your real estate business.
We still run our business based off of that book.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And what I love about that book is it's not just about real estate. You could take out a few terms and put in different terms. It's about building a business, a successful business. So I'd highly recommend the book. It's fantastic. It begins with mindset and then very, very, very practical advice and wisdom on how to build a good, sustainable business. We have systems, you have models. It's predictable. Your clients have consistency. They know what to expect. And that's just, I'm built like that kind of. I'm a systematic type of guy. And so that's really, really, that put structure around my passion, I think. And Keller Williams, at the risk of sounding cheesy, it really has changed my life. I mean, God changed my life predominantly, and then my family, and then business.
Yes. So, I endorse that. Yes, it's a little cheesy. And yes, we drink the Kool-Aid a little bit.
I'm not cheesy at all though, Courtney, right?
Yeah. Okay. But it is. We definitely, I would say that we buy into the Keller Williams way of doing things because we just see value in it. And so, we value the God family business, the prioritization of how to structure your life and, your priorities. It's very important, and it's easy to lose sight of it. And yes, I think that we all know that there's some times where you have to run on the hamster wheel in tough times to make things happen, right? You can't let your family go hungry.
Of course not. Right.
Building down some debt, whatever you've got to do. But it's not sustainable long term. And so at some point you have to narrow down, like you did. You're doing so many things. You narrow down to real estate and really what you wanted to do and focus that energy to where you can have your long-term goals, which was, having your real estate business, but also having your family that spend time with, and you're not married to real estate. So
I'm married to Rhonda.
You're married to
and that's important to me. And Gary Keller even says that the purpose of your business is to fund your life.
Yes.
And so that's for sure. You don't want it to be the other way around. So I would say Keller Williams taught me how to put structure around my business, and then also how to multiply myself. So at a certain time, the reason I was working 80 hours a week is because I felt like If it's going to be done right, only I can do it. And you know me, Courtney, I have a few control freak tendencies.
Just a little bit.
So, and it comes from a good place because I'm dedicated to professionalism, and perfection might be strong, but I wanted to make sure it's done right.
It's quality control.
It's quality.
Yeah,
yes.
for sure. You were providing a certain level of service. You expect that will always be done the way that you have done it.
And I didn't know how to do that through other people. And so I think what Keller Williams helped empower me to do is do that through other people, such as yourself. I mean, you've been with me 6 years, and you've helped me build our team. We have a great team of 7 professionals, and there's no way we could sell the amount of real estate we sell if it was just Will Frederick. I mean, that's not sustainable, and I wouldn't even be able to do the amount of deals we did this past year without great people like Courtney and the rest of the team.
Absolutely. So I think the biggest key is be in the talent business, be in conversation with talent, and finding people that are talented at portions of, in our industry, the transaction, right? So you're great. I think you could completely, I don't know about now, you haven't had to do it in so long, maybe not, but I think you could do every part of the transaction very good. I think I think you could give a great service. But the thing is that we have people that specialize in each part of the transaction and do it at a very high level and can do a lot of it. Therefore, Will gets to then focus on what he enjoys most, what his wheelhouse of giftedness is. I don't know what he enjoys doing.
What my magic superpower is the way I like to put it.
Absolutely. And I think what I see for you is that you really enjoy being in the community, building relationships, and kind of serving in our local area. Yeah. So you get to focus on those things where, we've got a transaction coordinator that specializes in the transaction, getting you to closing table and so on, so on. So I think it just doubles down the value that our clients are getting. We're able to do it more often, help more people.
And that's a great example, because if you do something once, you might be good at it. You're going to be better at it the second time. You're better at it the third time. But if you do 100 times, you can be way better than.
You can be way better, right?
And so Courtney, this is one Courtney. We have another Courtney named Courtney Three.
So many Courtneys
on our team.
Yeah.
And so she's a transaction coordinator. She oversaw 113 transactions in the year 2022, the year we just finished. That's more than most agents ever do in their whole life.
Yeah.
And she has become very, very good at that one part of it. And like I said, even better than me, sometimes I'll go ask her for advice, even though I'm the lead agent. But everybody rocks their own role. I have a team of specialists, really, and each of us have our own, special giftedness.
Well, no one's having to pull the weight of the entire service. Yeah. I mean, at this point, we provide a lot of value, and there's a lot of steps and things that go into that. And, it's multiplying yourself. I love the Founder and the Force Multiplier. It's about getting the leverage. That's a book that we, Will and I actually read together to help strengthen that relationship of multiplying his efforts in a way that allows him to have the freedom to do things that he is extra gifted at, his extra superpower, and then we take care of the rest. But I think that's important.
And I think each member of my team has kind of brought something special to the table. Yeah. We're all kind of skill-based. We're all kind of service-oriented. We want to serve our clients. We want to help them build wealth. We want to help them get to the next point in their journey, because and that's nice about having the volume that we have. We're not married to any one closing. And if it's not the right thing for the client, we're not going to just say, oh, no, you've got to do this because we need this commission check. It's not about that at all.
It's about win-win or no deal. If it's not good for our clients, no go.
And it's about helping their bigger journey. Like, we have clients all the time that say, hey, we're having a kid. We need to sell this house and move up. Or, hey, we got to move closer to our work. Or, we're downsizing and we're retiring. There's a bigger story at play there. And that's what we want to be a part of. That's how we get clients that we've done business with 6 or 7 or 8 times, some of them.
I love the repeat clients.
Well, they're great because
that they enjoyed. We brought them value. Right. We're building relationship, and it makes it so sweet.
And we get to watch their wealth grow, their personal wealth and their family wealth. I mean, there's not just one wealth dimension, right? Yeah. So
For sure.
so that's a big part of it for me. I'm very passionate about it because it's people, it's being a part of their story, and just helping them long term.
Yes, for sure. And we are always growing our team. We're always in, like I'm saying, the talent, in talent conversations and searching for talent. And that's something that we're always doing. We're always talking to anybody and everybody, really.
We're growing, and one Courtney and I have learned this about growing our team. We want to be in business with the kind of people who their hearts beat like our hearts, which is about service. It's about just serving our client and doing the right thing, regardless of whether or not it's the most financially productive thing. I mean, that matters, of course, but you also have to do the right thing no matter what. And we want to be, real, like have that like Disney World type customer service. We're reading some great books about that all the time on our team. We're about to start the Energy Bus. I'm reading a book called Creating Magic. And what I love about my team is each member is kind of cued into their process and their system and how we can make it better for our clients. So if we run into the same question a couple times, we're like, oh, we need to start answering this before it even gets asked, right? Yeah. So that's a big deal for us. And if everybody's doing that,
a brain, yes.
Right. And I don't know all of it. I'm not in every part of the transaction. So it's important to me that the people that are in every part of the transaction have that mindset too.
Yes, absolutely. And I want to give a shout out, because the core of what we're kind of saying with talent, with this talent conversation, is for any industry that you're in, if you are running a business or if you're an entrepreneur and you're small business owner, when you find talent, I want to give some keynotes of kind of what we're saying here is find your talent, give them space to grow, give them space to own their role, and get out of the way. That is something huge.
Are you telling me something right here?
We've already had this conversation. We already know the routine, okay? But it's you want to feed into your talent, because your talent is going to push you, right? Good talent pushes you. We know this. So if you find talented individuals that you want in your organization that add value to you, make sure that you're bringing value to them. So feed into them, give them space to grow, but you need to get out of the way. I think that's a big part of it. So don't control freak, like we were saying before. Don't be too controlling. You guide, and then you back up, and then they're just going to wow you. And if they're talent, they're going to take that over for you and run with it probably better than you could have done yourself.
Right. And you and I could probably tell countless stories about this, because it is a muscle that you have to exercise. Yeah. I think anybody who's really good at their craft, who takes pride in what they do, they're going to be a little bit of a control freak. You hear about these master chefs who are like nitpicking every little thing. And there's a
Gordon Ramsay, yes.
Right. There's a quality control that's part of that. And you also, unless you want to do everything all the time, all by yourself, you have to be able to take your hands off, take the training wheels off a little bit, and let the folks that you've gathered around you begin to trust in their talent and trust in their skill, and then watch them grow in that. And they pretty soon become better than you, and there are people, lots of our clients will tell me, hey, well, we don't need to talk to you. We want to talk to Corey. We want to talk to Christina. Christina's going to take care of us, and
totally.
That's music to my ears. I don't take offense to it. I love it, because it means I've got a great team that we all represent each other very well. We're in lockstep, and we're serving our clients.
For sure. Okay, so before we close out, what is your one piece of advice that you would give to business owners or entrepreneurs that would like to emulate or duplicate some of the success like you've had?
So anytime you're in sales, there's this kind of stigma, like, oh, you're trying to sell me something. And every now and then I'll run into this. It's probably less common in real estate than other ends of sales, but I really feel like if you can provide value to somebody, people don't mind paying you whatever you cost, because if they see the value in it, I mean, nobody wants to spend $100 on anything, but if you bought $100 something that was worth $1,000, because you see the value, you have no problem dropping that $100. So you're always providing more value than you cost. And if you can do that, I mean, there's that saying, build a better mousetrap and the world will beat a path to your door. If you can provide value, people will flock to you. You don't need to go sell yourself. You don't need to convince somebody that you're worth it. If your value is self-evident, all you have to do is show the value that you create. and then people will automatically want to pay for that because it brings value to their life. And so that's what we strive to do. And if we don't, and I tell clients this all the time, unless I'm providing value, I don't want you to use me.
Right.
I want you to want to use me. I'm not going to handcuff anybody and drag them to the closing table. Let's if this is a win for you, that's what we're going to go do. And only if it's a win for you, and the minute it becomes not a win, deal's off. We're not doing it.
Yeah,
you're the boss. Sure. So
I love that. I think that's such valuable advice for sure.
So, Courtney, thank you so much for joining me today. This was fun. This was special.
Thanks for having me. It's awesome.
And thank you. I have to say thank you, too, for helping me build our real estate. This $200 million number would not have happened without you. So it's awesome. And you and the rest of the team.
Team effort,
yes,
for sure.
Team effort. So thank you for listening today. We're excited about our partnership with First Access Mortgage, our title sponsor. They're an awesome title company. They've been serving Louisiana's first choice title company for over 21 years, and we're excited to be partnered with them. If you need to buy your first home or a vacation home or invest in real estate, go check them out. We love working with them, and they're truly your home loan resource. If you found value in what you heard today and you want to hear more content like this, hit the subscribe button below. And also, if there was something that you wanted to hear about that you didn't hear today, leave it in the comments section below. We're looking forward to having more conversations with you about these topics.